How to navigate the talking stage as a Muslim. So, if you're watching this, I'm assuming that you are a Muslim. If not, welcome. We're going to talk about the talking stage and halal dating. So, what is halal dating? I just use that as a title, to be honest with you. There's no like such thing as halal dating, but if we're going to talk about that, it's basically the talking stage. And what that means is you talking to someone, you're interested in them, how to navigate, what to discuss, and how to properly go through it without it going into haram territories. Because the biggest problem that I've seen, and a lot of people fall into this, they're talking to someone, there's interest in there, and then they don't really take the right steps. They just kind of go about it. They're very casual. They start talking, and then they start talking like they're married already. Once you reach that territory, that's when you know, okay, I need to rethink what I'm doing. Because a lot of Muslims fall into this. And the reason why is because a lot of Muslims just don't know how to navigate through it. I struggled with it. I didn't know how to do it. With all these dating coaches, all they tell you is, oh, so what you do is you go approach a girl, right? Because it's a lot of non-Muslim like dating coaches, right? Or just non-religious dating coaches. So they're gonna tell you, yeah, you go to the girl, you go up to her, you tell, oh, I saw you, I thought you were cute, I'd love to take you out for a date. And then you get her number, you go out for a date, you go somewhere, whatever you do for your date, and then you you do haram things. Okay, so this is like the Western mindset when it comes to dating in general, right? I don't know how I don't know how Christians do it. I don't know how Jews do it. I can't speak too much on that. But I do know that as Muslims, this is probably one of the better ways to do it, right? And I think a lot of people don't really discuss this. A lot of people just talk about they talk about, oh, get your families involved, but they don't actually talk to you about the steps. And this is what we're going to talk about in this video. Okay, like I said, I used to be so confused, right? I had no clue about it. And this was like back in 2014. And all the people that were there were people like Simple Pickup, right? There's all these different channels that were like, I shouldn't even name drop, but like there's a lot of channels that were out there that were saying, oh, if you're just confident, you can go after the girl, you can get her number. Getting a girl's number was like the ultimate flex. It was just a big thing. And then there was videos of guys going out, getting girls' numbers, right? They're going navigating through that. So that was like a huge thing back then. But as time went on, it started to change a little bit. Now we're in this space where I think it was the red pill, and then it was some other things that were being discussed. So it really changed. The whole dynamic of this thing changed. But the one thing that people don't discuss enough is how to navigate through it as a Muslim. So this is what I'm going to talk about. This is like the answers have not been answered for many years, and alhamdulillah, there's more people that are talking about it. There's more imams that are more open about it. But I'm going to give you my perspective. I'm going to give you what I personally think you should do. So the reality of the talking stage. A lot of times, like there's this people say, oh, how do you approach a girl that you're really interested in? Oh, they'll say, oh, go to them, go to their father, ask the father for the phone number, right? Oh, sorry, ask her for her father's phone number, right? But a lot of times it doesn't work like that. A lot of times the guys will either get rejected or it just comes off like we. The problem with the society, the ummah today, is we have this mindset of dating. So a lot of people have this mindset of dating. So if you approach someone and ask for their father's number, they're going to be flattered, but in their head they're like, "Oh, I don't know him. I should." In their head they're going to think, "Oh, I should date him first." So that's what a lot of people think of, like men and women. No, it's not a gender thing. It's just in general, right? We've been kind of wired to think this way, right? So a lot of times people meet through university, school, family connections, community circles, mutual friends, right? You may have gone through this where you met someone maybe in university and you actually had an interest in them, right? You talked to them, and this is where like the lines are drawn because intermingling and stuff like that I'm not a scholar, so I'm not going to speak on that, but this is where a lot of people will meet each other, right? They'll meet each other through a common thing that they're currently doing or a common ground, right? So this is what happens. People get interested in each other, they start talking more, slowly emotions start to get involved, and then before you know it, they're attached without clarity. This is the mistake that a lot of people make. They talk, 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 talk without the intention for marriage, or they think about it, oh, this person, but in their head they're like, oh, I'm gonna wait a little bit, I'm gonna focus on this, I'll focus on that. If you're talking to someone, and then you might as well figure out what your plan is, because if you're just talking to someone just because you're talking to someone, and just because you want someone to keep you company, wake you up for fajr, and saying, oh, like, hope you have a great day, right? If that's the case, then you're already moving like you're a couple. And that's when, like I made an Instagram post today, and I talked about how when you do that, you don't get barakah in your life, right? In terms of like this part, right? You're in a relationship with someone, you're talking to them like you're married, but you're not married as a Muslim, right? So this is when it gets really dangerous. You get too deep, your feelings are high, and you still don't know if marriage is even realistic, right? You don't understand what the marriage is like, and a lot of people fall into this isn't just young people. This is older people. This is very common. Like I said, we are wired. We have been wired to think that the way to date is the way that we see in society. Movies have brainwashed us, right? So this is something that's super, super important to understand. Now, this is where I share my personal turning point, right? You know, I eventually realized that dragging things out isn't the right way, because I fell into this too. I struggle with this. And this is why I did istikhara, which I'll talk about later. But I used to drag it. I used to fall like, I used to be like, daydream. Oh, like this person, this person, this person. And when you start to feel that lust, you start to think like this person's the perfect person, and you ignore the flaws. Like you haven't even gotten married yet, right? So what happens is, as time goes on, you're gonna start losing focus. A lot of people will lose focus in school. They'll start losing focus with things. And the reality of marriage is meant to be a process. You're supposed to work together, right? So if you're acting like this, like there's no reason why you shouldn't love someone. Of course, love them, have that lust feeling, but that should be your wife, right? Or your husband. They shouldn't just be a random person that you see. Of course, you may develop feelings as time goes on, even if you're not married, but that's when you should really take a look and start thinking with your head, and not like the inside, right? Not here, right? Start thinking logically, okay? Because I know feelings will come in, so you have to start thinking logically, especially if you're a man. You have to start thinking logically, right? You don't think with other body parts, okay? So that's a big one. So the biggest thing is, the Prophet ﷺ gave us, a blueprint in general, right? We already know of Islam, especially with Islam, right? So we keep things clear, we keep things halal, right? Now the right approach is, if you're interested, just be upfront, right? If this is the way you want to do it, go directly ask her for her father's number. You can do that, or involve someone she trusts in her family. Now, the way I personally like to do it, and this is how I personally did it, is when it was for me, I would typically find, okay, maybe there's a family member on her end. If I knew them, then I would kind of approach them, and I would say, hey, like I have an interest in this person, right? So that's something that I would do, or I would basically approach like one of my family members and just say, hey, like I'm interested in this person. So that way it's a little more subtle. And I know, like, a lot of times, yes, you can go up to the person too, but like I said, we're wired in a way where we think that the right way to do things is this mentality, the Western mentality of dating, right? So this is super, super important, right? So this is like, but you need to be upfront. You need to know what you want. A lot of brothers, they don't know what they want. They're kind of like in limbo. They're like, oh, this, I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I don't know. Right. And we're leaders. We're meant to be the leaders. So if you can't be decisive, the woman's not going to choose for you, right? She's gonna kind of just follow you. If she's interested in you, she's just gonna follow your lead, right? Because you are the man. So that's super, super important, right? So also another thing is, keep the talking stage short and purposeful. Now I don't mean like timeline wise, but what I mean is, the goal isn't just to see if you vibe. And this is where I was talking to someone, and he was talking about, talking about your hobbies, stuff like that. Now, talking about your hobbies is not anything. There's nothing wrong talking about your hobbies. But at the end of the day, you and your wife might have completely different hobbies, right? You're not looking for someone with the same hobbies as you. You could, it's a bonus, but ultimately you're looking for someone that you can share your life with, right? And so you want to make sure that you go into it with that mentality. When you're going to a job interview, are you going to the job interview to figure out, oh yeah, like, oh, like just casual, oh yeah, like cool. Like, oh, what's the job like? Oh, awesome, awesome. No, you're going to the job interview to see like whether you're a right fit for each other. You go, you're very specific, and then you ask them questions like, okay, like what does a job entail? Okay, what is this? Like, what's it gonna be like, right? You want to learn what it's gonna be like to live with this person, what it's gonna be like to have kids with this person. This is the mindset you need to have. Okay, so this is very, very important. And it's to see if your values, vision, and goals align. Okay. Like I said, don't let your emotions cloud your judgment, because the longer you talk without clarity, the more you keep it casual, the more you get attached. And that's when you start to see it starts to become a red flag, right? And that's when it starts to tread to this like more haram territories where it's like a haram relationship. And shaitan is always going to be there, right? There are two people, right? Two non-mahrams or two people that are not married are together. Third person, shaitan. Okay, so it's very, very important. So yeah, like I said, this is something that was like I had a story where this was like a decade ago, where I was in school and there was someone that I was really, really interested in. She was Muslim too, but I was so indecisive. I could not think about like I just so indecisive, and I actually lost focus in school. Like I lost complete focus while I was in school, and I didn't even pass that specific course because I was so distracted. So that's why I say it's important to not let your emotions cloud your judgment. It's normal. You may have feelings, but you also have to start thinking logically. You're a man, okay? Now, here's another thing too. A lot of brothers delay involving the family because of fear of rejection, right? We live now. This is another problem with the ummah. There's a lot of problems when it comes to marriage within the ummah, and it's literally all us. So this problem is where tribalism. This is where, like you can say, racism, right? This is where culturalism. All these different things. Now, racism it's not just color. It's also tribes. You can have two people who are from the same country, but because they're from different tribes, the family will be like, oh no, we don't want to be with this person because they're from a different tribe. It's very common, right? If you may have experienced, you may know, like someone will be like, oh, even some will go out of the way just because they're different last names. Oh, this is their last name. Oh, this is who they are, right? This is 100% not something that is part of Islam. Like we don't look at this. The only thing I will say is it's good to have somebody who with a common with some common ground, and it's good to have your families kind of like in a good relationship, because your family does play a huge factor. So that's something I can talk about later. But like I said, all this stuff is like this is all stuff. This is like someone who has $1 million versus someone who has 100K in the bank, right? To kind of like provide for their wife. Yes, $1 million is great, but if someone can provide for with 100K, for example, I'm just using an example, even with like 15K or whatever, I'm talking about salary, then whatever it may be, then they can. It's not about the what's up front, right? It's about who this person is, how their deen is, are they responsible, can they take care of themselves, are they able to protect themselves and also their spouse. So anyways, this is something I want to talk about. So the longer you wait, and this is where a lot of people, the harder it becomes to walk away if things don't work out, right? If you keep waiting, you keep thinking, oh, like, this is going to work. I really want this to work. I really want this to work. Then you're just going to keep dragging it on. This is where a lot of Muslims struggle with, because they just drag it on until it just like becomes a thing where they just become it becomes a haram relationship. So this is a big, big one, right? And involving the families early doesn't mean that you're rushing. It just means that you're being intentional. It means that you're serious about this. It means that you really, really want this to work. And that's important, right? Involving the families is really, really important. Like I said, it's tough. I know, but with tribalism, with culturalism, with racism, it's very common within the ummah. It's very surprising, but stuff like this is why the ummah is not progressing. It's a reality. Okay, so share. Okay, yeah, it's a protection, right? Because your family is a big thing here. So that's a huge, huge, huge one. Okay. Now, the next part, and this is something that I recommend doing just in general. This is something I did personally. Anytime I met someone, anytime I met anyone, what I would do is I make istikhara. Like I would literally make istikhara. And I found that anytime I made istikhara, within 1 to 2 weeks, something would happen and then it just turned out not to be. And if it went for longer, I can feel it in my heart. I can feel the discomfort. I can feel the discomfort. Like I can feel it like treading like this. And then I just have to let it go. So that's one thing that a lot of people Like it's funny. I talk to a lot of brothers. Like they'll talk to someone for months, maybe like years. I'll ask them like I'll ask them every time I talk to them. I'll ask them, "Hey, did you do istikhara?" And they'll be like, "No." I'm like, "Why didn't you do istikhara?" They're like, "Oh, I don't know." Or someone will see me like, "Oh, it's I don't know, I don't want to." One person like two people actually this summer, like I saw them and they've been talking to, now it's their girl, I guess, but they've been with this person for a while, and I asked them both, did you do istikhara? They're like, no. And one person I told him like almost a year ago, hey, do your istikhara. He didn't do it. And the thing about it is when you don't do your istikhara, and the istikhara is not like something where you do it, you wait for a dream or it's magical. No, it's not. Istikhara just means that you're asking Allah's guidance and asking Allah to guide you through it. So when you make istikhara, you just go into it with the feeling of, okay, now whatever action I take, I know Allah is going to guide me. And if he moves me further from it, that means it's not meant to be. If he moves it closer to it, then inshallah it's meant to. Then it's meant to be, right? So super 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 important, right? Istikhara. I can make a whole video on istikhara, but I think this is something that I want to talk about, especially as you're going through it. This is going to save you so much time. Like I don't understand why people kind of the deen is like all the answers are within our deen, but I don't understand why sometimes and this is I struggle with this too, of course, we try to use our own intellect to figure things out. Everything's within our deen, right? So you just apply the deen and you're gonna notice it. For me, like even I I do istikhara for so many different decisions. Like especially when it comes to business, I do a lot of istikhara, right? It's a huge, huge thing. I recommend just looking into it. Just take a look if you don't understand istikhara. Again, it's not a thing where you're gonna see dreams and it's not. No, it's not what it is. It's just you're literally just asking Allah to guide you. Istikhara is not meant. It's not a marriage thing or anything. It's meant for everything, for decisions. When you're in confusion, you don't know what to do. Do istikhara. Okay, it's 2 rakats, right? And a dua. That's it. I guess it's not like, oh, you're gonna be praying a whole tarawih or something like that. No. Okay. So that's it. That's what it is. So, anyways, if you're a Muslim man, this is something I'll say at the end, who's trying to navigate through this journey, I get it. I've been there and confused, overwhelmed, not knowing the right steps. And that's why I created the Marriage Confidence Accelerator. Okay, to help brothers like yourself build the confidence, clarity, and habits to attract a spouse, the right spouse, the halal way. Okay. So if you want to join the program, I'll leave a link down below. Inshallah, you can take a look. You can book a call with me. I also have two other options. So the first one is you can just get my free guide if you want. It's basically like a 5-step blueprint to being confident, being confident in your marriage, right? To before marriage. I also have like a PDF, like a longer expansion of that. So that one is I think $27 at this point. It might go up very soon. So you can take a look at that if that's something you're interested in. But again, it's not about rushing. It's about tying your camel and then taking the right steps and trusting Allah with the results. So I hope this provided some value to you. Inshallah, this is something I'm going to talk a little bit more about. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to share. So, Jazakallah khair, and we will talk soon. Assalamu alaikum.